The sweet spot in Canon's RF lineup might not be what you think it is, because whilst everybody's fighting over the R5 Mark II and the R6 Mark II, I think that the Canon R8 is by far the best bang for buck that you can get right now on the RF mount. The R8's definitely been a favourite of mine since its release, but over the last year or so, there's been a couple of developments that, in my opinion, have made the R8 a better buy than ever. So the Canon R8, it came out in 2023, and now, 2 years later, it might finally be the perfect camera for most people. What's been the biggest game changer? Lens options. Specifically, these two lenses, the RF 28-70 2.8 and the RF 16-28 2.8 zoom lenses. Now, the RF mount ecosystem has expanded quite a bit since 2023, but these two small, lightweight zooms just pair so perfectly with the R8. They were, in my opinion, exactly what was missing from the RF mount lineup. Canon did a fantastic job making the R8 small and lightweight, yet still comfortable, especially when you'd use those smaller prime lenses like, say, the RF 28mm 2.8, the 35 1.8, or the nifty 50. But once you wanted a zoom lens, well, especially a 2.8 zoom, well, then my big, heavy RF 24-70 2.8, for example, simply didn't really feel at home or very comfortable to use on the R8 small body, especially for travel. So we had the great small prime lenses, but really nowhere to go within RF mount if we wanted 2.8 zooms that still allowed us to keep things compact and lightweight. But that has all changed now. These new zooms feel tailor-made for the Canon R8. I finally have the small, lightweight, full-frame travel setup that I have wanted for years. The R8 itself provides great dynamic range, amazing autofocus, and some of the best colour science on RF mount in my opinion. I took the Canon R8 along with these zooms to Iceland and they did not let me down. And as I talk about my experience with this setup, I'll show you a ton of example video, all shot on this setup, along the way too. Now this RF 28-70 is incredibly versatile, working for the majority of situations I find myself in whilst traveling. This entire setup with either lens is below a kilogram. Everything is nice and light, whether in your hands or in your backpack. And it's also a fairly inconspicuous setup too, which is great when you're traveling. I actually managed to bring this little setup into the Blue Lagoon in Iceland, and nobody batted an eyelid when I brought that in. The R8 paired with the RF 28-70 2.8 for me personally can cover literally 90% of what I do, whether that's portraits, landscape, street photography, or video. This zoom range is just so useful. And in terms of image quality, both these lenses, you'll have seen the shots so far, they are very, very sharp and contrasty with beautiful colors. And I've had no problem cropping pretty significantly with this setup as well, and I still get great results. Portraits really pop with this lens as well. The 24-105 f4, for example, is great, but it is nice to have that maximum f2 point aperture here for a little bit more pop in portraits. Just like the R8 itself, these zooms punch way above their price tag in my opinion, offering fantastic image quality and rendering. Canon, I guess, just decided to make these zooms as good as most of the L series zoom lenses that you can pick up for twice the price. Autofocus is also fantastic. These new zooms focus confidently, quickly, and silently. This camera with either of these little zooms make for a fantastic walk around lens to capture your travels or just daily life. I love the 16-28 for just capturing wide scenes with my wife in them whilst we were traveling. And then the 28-70 can give you a little bit more depth and also gives me really nice portraits with excellent central sharpness. This is the case for video too. You can get really pro looking results with this combination. This little setup will give you incredibly cinematic, professional looking results. I'm just in love with the colors from this little camera. And in this price range, most alternatives still don't offer 4K 50 with no crop. You're getting the same performance as the R6 Mark II in a much smaller and cheaper package. And this is why I think that the R8 is now a better buy than ever. These lenses finally complete the package, in my opinion. Another reason I love these new zooms on the R8 is because of their weather sealing. We did have nice small lenses to use on the R8 before, like the 35 1.8 and the 50mm 1.8, but they weren't weather sealed. So I would not want to be using them in an environment like this. But with these new zooms, I'm not worried. So yeah, before these lenses, we had very few or really any small light lenses that were weather sealed. You'd have to use something like the 24-105 or the 14-35. It is so nice to have weather sealing included in these small, fast, versatile zooms, despite the fact that they are not L lenses. Usually, decent weather sealing is reserved for the much more pricey L lenses, but man, did I test this in Iceland through snow, rain, dust, and waterfalls. If I ever had any doubt about the R8 or these new lenses weather sealing before, well then I definitely don't now. Again, this just makes this setup all the more versatile and dependable, especially when traveling. And I've taken the R8 traveling with me a number of times in the past with just the smaller primes, and I've had to stop shooting because of the rain. And with these zooms, I don't have to worry about that anymore, and I don't have to bring big, bulky L lenses just for their weather sealing. Now I'm just going to take a quick second to let you guys know that the sponsor of today's video is Squarespace. As a photographer, having a website to showcase your work is a must, and Squarespace just makes it easy. There's no coding or design skills needed, just drag and drop and you are good to go. Squarespace's design intelligence blends expert design with AI, helping you create a personalized website and unique digital identity effortlessly. And of course, they also have the amazing customizable photo galleries that are perfect for showing off your portfolio. And if you need a store, Squarespace has all of the tools to set up a shop and handle many payment types seamlessly thanks to Squarespace Payments. So if you're ready to get started, head on over to squarespace.com/JamesReader and use code JamesReader for 10% off your first domain or website. Another reason that these lenses are fantastic for the R8 is their inclusion of optical stabilisation, because a concern, a valid one, that a lot of people have with the R8 is the lack of IBIS. And if you wanted a fast stabilised zoom to offset this in the past, you'd again have to look at the bigger expensive L series zooms or one of the cheaper f4 zooms. But now in the 28-70 and the 16-28, we've got lenses with fantastic optical stabilization and a fast 2.8 aperture. I also personally think that the stabilization in these lenses is better than ever. Side by side, I found the optical stabilization to be better in these zooms than not only the stabilized 1.8 primes, but even my stabilized L lenses. For most of my Iceland trip, I used the R8 in combination with the 16-28 for video purposes, and it was just fantastic to use. And it's also probably, or definitely, hands down, the best vlog setup on RF mount in my opinion, especially for people who want that fast 2.8 aperture for filming their travels. I really love this focal range too, because it's wide enough so you can easily vlog, but then at the same time you can just turn the camera around, zoom out to 28mm and get a nice standard field of view that's great for capturing your travels. The combination of the small, light R8 with this tiny 16-28 zoom is just really nice to use. And the lack of IBIS on the R8 is actually a positive here too, because we can shoot at 16mm and avoid any of the weird corner wobbles that we get even with the much more expensive R5 Mark II's IBIS. I've also found myself using the digital stabilization in the R8 more, and I've been really impressed with it actually. It's great to use if you want just slightly smoother footage than that optical stabilization provides. Here's a look at each level of stabilization, first with no stabilization at all. Now with the optical stabilization in the lens turned on. Now this clip has digital stabilization on, which looks really good. It really smooths things out for tracking and walking shots. We've even got an enhanced digital stabilization, which I think is really good for static shots, but it crops in quite a bit and it can get a bit jerky when you move. I think the combination of the optical stabilization and the digital stabilization is fantastic for vlog footage. It provides really, really smooth results without any of the weird wobbles we see on most other Canon cameras. Now, if Canon decided to make another R8, say a Mark II, I wouldn't want them to change too much because I think they got an awful lot right with this camera. For sure, I would not want them to make the camera any bigger, but I would like to see maybe a slightly higher quality EVF, and also, if possible, a second card slot would be nice as well. I've never had any problems, but it would certainly give a little bit of peace of mind. Right now, the max shutter on this camera in electronic first curtain shutter is 1/4000, and I'd like to see that raised to the usual 1/8000 if possible. And for sure, we need C-Log2 for video as well. Now, people might think I'm going to say battery, but honestly, even in the frigid, cold Icelandic weather, I have never had any complaints with the Canon R8's battery life. I found every day the one battery would last me pretty much the entire day, shooting thousands of photos and video clips in between. I just always made sure that I turned the camera off whenever I could. What would be awesome though is if Canon made a retro styled version of this camera. Similar to what Nikon has done with their ZF, I think that would be really, really cool. So to conclude, here's the thing, the R8 hasn't changed, but the lens lineup has. And that is what makes it a better buy than ever in 2025. It's always needed a couple of lenses to match it, and now, if you pick up the R8 with one of the cheaper prime lenses, well, now you've got a great upgrade path with these two new zooms that pair perfectly with your camera and provide fantastic results for both photo and video. And I really cannot recommend these lenses enough. They are two of my absolute favorite releases ever on RF mount. Pair the R8 with the 2870 and you have about all the camera you will ever need for many years to come. I absolutely loved using this setup in Iceland, and in my opinion, for the money, it is the best travel setup you can buy right now by far. Here in the UK, you can pick up a used R8 body for around £1,000. I'm not sure what the prices are in the US, but that's a full frame sensor, the same one that's in the R6 Mark II, with excellent dynamic range, excellent video capabilities, amazing autofocus at a really great price. And as I said earlier, with the R8, you get 4K 60 with no crop. And most competitors in this price range still haven't caught up yet in that regard. Nikon just released the Z5 II, for example, and that looks amazing, looks like a great camera, but still, it has an APS-C crop in 4K 60. For R8 owners looking to pick up a new lens, check out one of these new zooms. I think that you will love them. And I'd love to see Canon complete the trio with something like a 70-180 in a similar design to the other two lenses. But I want to hear from you. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the R8, especially people that have owned it for a couple of years at this point. And also, what do you think of these new zooms? Have you tried them, and are you considering adding them to your lens lineup? But that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.